She was sitting on the couch when I came in, knees tucked under her, coffee gone cold beside her, the TV humming low with some movie neither of us had been watching. "Long day?" she asked without looking up. Her voice always did that, made me forget the rest of the noise in my head. I dropped my camera bag near the door and nodded, though the day hadn't been long. It was just an excuse to see her like this, half tired, half somewhere else. Clara. I'd met her 6 months ago when the spare room opened up in her apartment. The listing said, quiet roommate preferred. I thought she meant she liked peace. She really meant she liked distance. At least at first. Now the distance felt thinner. Like one of us would break it just by breathing too close. She reached for the remote, then stopped halfway. "You ate?" "Not yet." "Hungry?" "Depends," I said, pretending to check my phone. That made her smile. It was the kind that flickered, like she wasn't supposed to find me funny but couldn't help it. I moved closer, not enough to touch, just enough to notice how she smelled faintly like rain and coffee grounds. She'd been grading papers all afternoon. The red pen was still tucked behind her ear. I could have told her that she looked tired, or beautiful, or both. But I didn't. Instead, I sat down beside her. The couch dipped just slightly, and that was enough to make something in the air shift. The movie was still playing, an old black and white one she liked. I could feel her watching the screen, but her body wasn't relaxed. One leg crossed over the other, foot tapping once, twice. "You're quiet tonight," she said. "So are you." Her lips pressed together. "That's rare for me, isn't it? You usually talk enough for both of us." She laughed under her breath. "Guess I'm thinking." "About what?" She hesitated. Then, softly, "About things that don't belong to me anymore." I didn't know what she meant, but I wanted to. The light from the TV flickered across her face, soft blues and whites, shadows tracing the curve of her neck. My hand twitched against my knee, wanting to move but staying still. "Clara," I said. She looked at me then. Directly. No shield, no professor tone, no half-smile. Just her, eyes tired but alive, like she'd been running from herself and suddenly stopped. I swallowed. "Do you ever," the words broke. I tried again. "Do you ever feel like, something's waiting for you, but you're too scared to walk toward it?" Her throat moved. "All the time." We sat there, both pretending to watch the movie, both hearing the quiet like it was saying everything we wouldn't. She shifted closer. Just slightly. Her hand brushed my arm, not by accident. I knew it. She knew I knew. And for a second, everything in me wanted to turn, to close the space between us, to see if what had been building for months was real or just a trick of loneliness. But before I could say anything, a sound broke the silence, a sharp knock at the door. She froze. I looked at her. Her expression changed, all warmth gone, eyes distant again, as if she'd just remembered something she shouldn't have forgotten. "Don't," she whispered. "Please." Then she stood up, smoothed her hair, and walked toward the door. The knock came again, louder this time. And for the first time since I moved in, I realized I wasn't the only one she'd been keeping at a distance. The man at the door had gray at his temples and a leather jacket that looked expensive. He stood there holding a set of car keys like a peace offering. "Clara," he said, soft but practiced. "Her ex-husband." I didn't need to ask. You could hear it in the way her shoulders lifted before she spoke, how she used his name like it still belonged to another life. "Tom." "You shouldn't just," I called. You didn't answer. I stayed back on the couch, pretending to scroll my phone, but every word felt like it was landing too close. Tom stepped halfway inside, eyes sweeping the room, landing briefly on me. "This the new roommate?" Clara's tone went cold. "Yes. Eli, this is Tom. He's just leaving." Tom smiled, the kind that said he wasn't leaving at all. "Right. Good to meet you, Eli." He stayed 5 minutes. Maybe 10. Long enough to remind her of something, to fill the apartment with old air. When he finally left, she closed the door slowly and leaned against it. For a long moment, neither of us said anything. "You didn't tell me you were married," I said finally. "I'm not," she said. "Not anymore." The quiet stretched between us like thread pulled too tight. She walked to the kitchen, poured herself water, didn't drink it. "It's been 3 years. But he still thinks if he knocks long enough, I'll open the door again." I didn't know what to do with my hands. "You could have told me." She looked up, weary but firm. "Why would I? You're my roommate, Eli. You don't need to know everything." "Yeah," I said, though it came out wrong, bitter, small. Her voice softened. "You're young. You think everything means something right away. It doesn't always." I wanted to tell her that what was happening between us already did mean something, that the air changed when she walked into a room, that her laughter hit me somewhere I didn't have words for. But she was watching me, and I couldn't be that exposed. So I said, "You sound like you've said that before." She gave a half smile. "Once or twice." That night, she sat back on the couch with her knees tucked under her again. The same movie played, the same cup of coffee gone cold. But this time, she left space beside her. I didn't ask permission. I just sat. She handed me the blanket without looking, and when our fingers brushed, neither of us pulled away. The silence wasn't awkward anymore, it was alive. Every small sound mattered, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the flick of her ring against the glass, the quiet rhythm of our breathing sinking without effort. "Clara," I said after a while. She turned her head toward me, eyes soft, wary. "I'm not trying to mean something. I just don't know how not to." She blinked once, slow, deliberate, and something in her expression shifted. "Then don't try," she whispered. Her hand stayed where it was, close enough to touch. And for the first time, she didn't move away. A storm had rolled in, heavy rain, low thunder, the kind that makes the world feel smaller. Power flickered twice, then died. The room went quiet except for rain against the windows. Clara found candles. I found myself watching her hands shake as she lit them. "You okay?" I asked. "Fine," she said too fast. A drop of wax slid down her fingers, I caught her wrist before she could brush it away. The contact lasted half a second, maybe less, but the heat was there, real and undeniable. We froze. The candlelight made her look softer, younger, almost like the version of herself she didn't let people see. "Eli," she said, a warning buried under my name. "Yeah. You need to be careful." "With what?" Her eyes flicked up. "With me." I laughed, quiet and nervous. "You think I don't know that?" She didn't answer. Just stepped back and turned toward the window. The rain hit harder. We stood there in the dark, not moving, the air thick with everything we weren't saying. Then my phone buzzed, a text from Sam, my best friend and the one who'd introduced me to the apartment in the first place. "Sam, you still living with that professor?" "Tell her I said hi, she taught my sister last semester." Face with tears of joy. My stomach dropped. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah. It's just," I hesitated. "Sam. He knows you." Clara turned, frowning. "Knows me how?" "His sister was in your class last year." He's the one who told me about the room. Her eyes widened slightly. You didn't tell me that. I didn't think it mattered. She set the candle down. It matters, Eli. Her tone wasn't anger, it was fear. The kind that makes your voice shrink. I tried to step closer. No one's going to care, they will. People talk. They always talk. She turned away again, pacing now, one hand pressed to her forehead. You don't understand what that could mean for me. For my job. The guilt hit quick and deep. I wanted to tell her it wasn't like that I wasn't trying to ruin anything. But before I could, she was already walking toward her room. Clara, she stopped at the doorway, shoulders stiff. You should start looking for another place. It felt like she'd slapped me. I didn't, she didn't turn. Please. Just for both of us. The storm outside was louder now, wind rattling the glass, thunder echoing in the walls. I stayed standing in the dark living room long after her door closed. The wax from the candle had pooled on the coffee table, hardening into white streaks. Finally, I whispered toward her door, though I knew she couldn't hear it. I wasn't trying to make this harder. But even as I said it, I knew I'd already crossed the line. And the worst part, she had 2.3 days passed without a word. She left early, came home late, always pretending not to notice when I was still awake on the couch. Every sound felt magnified, her keys on the counter, the kettle boiling, footsteps soft down the hall. The space between us had never felt so loud. By the fourth night, I couldn't take it anymore. She came in drenched from the rain, hair clinging to her face, shoulders trembling. I stood up before I even thought about it. You're soaked, I said. She shrugged off her coat, avoiding my eyes. I'm fine. You're not. Eli, you can't just act like none of this happened. Her hands froze mid-motion, gripping the fabric of her coat. I'm trying to protect us. By pretending? She looked at me then, really looked, and something in her expression cracked. You think I don't feel this? The words hit hard. My chest tightened. Then why are you running? Because I'm not supposed to want you, she said, voice breaking. Because you make me forget who I'm supposed to be. Silence. Just the rain hammering the windows. I took a step closer. You're not my professor anymore, Clara. You're just, you. That's the problem, she whispered. When it's just me, I don't trust what I want. Her lip trembled. She turned away, bracing herself on the counter, trying to steady her breathing. I could see her reflection in the kitchen window, eyes closed, hand pressed to her chest. I told myself I was past this, she said. Needing someone. Depending on them. You don't depend on me, I said quietly. You avoid me. That made her laugh, sharp, bitter, hurt. Maybe because you look at me like I'm still worth something. I didn't think. I just reached for her hand. You are. She didn't pull away. Not right away. Then her phone buzzed on the counter, screen lighting up with a name I recognized before she grabbed it, Tom. She hesitated, then turned it face down. You should answer, I said. I don't want to. Then why do you keep letting him call? Because it's easier than facing what's happening here. I stepped closer, voice low. And what is happening here? She met my eyes, all the fear and want tangled together, impossible to separate. I don't know anymore, she said. I just know I can't stop thinking about you, and that scares the hell out of me. The air felt electric, like the room itself was holding its breath. Her hand was still in mine. The distance between us was gone, nothing left but the heartbeat between two impossible choices. Then, a knock at the door. We both froze. Not again. Clara's eyes widened, not fear this time, but something closer to dread. Eli, she whispered, voice shaking. If that's who I think it is, she didn't finish. And I didn't move. The knocking came again, louder, insistent. Whatever happened next, we couldn't take it back, the knocking didn't stop. It came in heavy bursts, the kind that demanded to be answered. Clara hesitated, then squared her shoulders and opened the door, not fully, just enough to see. Sam. I said before my brain caught up. He stood there, soaked from the rain, phone in hand, eyes darting between us. You weren't answering your texts. I came by to check. He stopped when he saw Clara behind me. Wait. Are you too? Clara stepped back like she'd been burned. You shouldn't be here. Sam frowned. I thought you were his landlady. I am, she said too quickly. He looked at me. Eli. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. There was no version of the truth that didn't sound like betrayal. Sam's expression shifted, slow and disappointed. Man, tell me this isn't what it looks like. It's not, I said, but even I didn't believe it. He glanced around, at the candlelight, at the blanket on the couch, at how close we were standing. Then he exhaled, shaking his head. You really messed this up. Sam, he cut me off. You knew she taught my sister, right? She's got people who could lose their jobs if this gets out. That hit harder than I expected. You told me about the room, Sam. Yeah, not so you could fall in love with her. The words landed like a slap. Behind me, Clara went still. Sam looked at her now, voice quieter. You know they talk about you on campus, right? About the student you almost got in trouble with years ago. Her breath caught. What? I turned toward her. What's he talking about? She didn't answer. Her face was pale, the kind of pale that tells you the truth before the words come. Clara? She closed her eyes. It was a long time ago. Was it true? It doesn't matter. It does to me. Her silence was the answer I didn't want. Sam muttered something under his breath, then turned for the door. You both need to think about what you're doing. This isn't a movie. People get hurt. When the door shut behind him, the air went dead. I stared at her, the pieces rearranging in my head. You were going to tell me? She whispered, no. Because I thought maybe this time, I could keep it from ruining everything. The quiet after that was unbearable. Finally, I said, you didn't ruin it. You just didn't trust me enough to let me choose. She turned then, eyes wet but steady. You think you'd still choose me knowing what I've done? I stepped closer, voice trembling. I already did. She shook her head, backing away. Then you're not as smart as I thought. And before I could stop her, she grabbed her coat, keys, and walked out into the rain, the same way she'd done before, but this time she didn't look back. The door clicked shut. And all I could think was, maybe love wasn't supposed to survive the truth. The rain hadn't stopped. It poured for hours, turning the street silver, the kind of storm that made every sound feel like memory. Clara didn't come home that night. Her room stayed dark, her mug still half full on the table. I sat on the couch until dawn, waiting for the sound of her keys, the sound that never came. By morning, my decision was already made. I found her where I knew she'd be, the small cafe on 8th, the one she went to when she needed to think. She was by the window, hair still damp, sleeves rolled up, staring at nothing. When she saw me, she didn't look surprised. Just tired. You shouldn't be here, she said softly. I had to be. She sighed. You deserve someone who doesn't come with warnings. I didn't fall for your resume, I said. I fell for you. That made her flinch, not because she didn't want to hear it, but because she did. She set her cup down. You don't understand what that means for me. If people find out, then they find out. Let them. Her eyes lifted, sharp now. You think it's that easy? You're 27, Eli. You'll wake up one day and realize this was just a mistake with a story attached. I leaned forward. And what if I don't? What if I never do? She opened her mouth, but the words died. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from holding too much in. You remind me, she said quietly, of what I almost had once. Before I ruined it. Then maybe this is your chance not to. Her laugh was small, almost a sob. You make everything sound simple. It's not simple, I said. It's just worth it. The silence between us shifted, not tense, not heavy. Just full. She reached across the table, fingers brushing mine. You really believe that? I do. Her eyes glistened. I don't know if I can be the person you think I am. You already are. For a moment, it felt like the world slowed, the cafe fading into nothing but her hand in mine, her breath catching, the flicker of hope that scared us both. She pulled her hand back, but not completely. You could still walk away, she whispered. Could you? Her lips parted, but she didn't answer. Instead, she reached for her coat, stood, and said, "Walk with me." Outside, the rain had turned to mist. We walked in silence, close but not touching. At the crosswalk, she stopped. Eli, she said, voice barely there. If we do this, we don't get to pretend anymore. I don't want to pretend. Her eyes searched mine, fear and want warring in them, and then she took my face in her hands, breathing out a shaky laugh that sounded like surrender. I'm so tired of being scared, she whispered. I almost kissed her. Almost. The light turned green. A car horn broke the moment. She dropped her hands, exhaled, and smiled through tears. Maybe we finally stop running. Together? I asked. She nodded once. Together. And then she stepped forward, into the crosswalk, into whatever came next. It's strange how quiet the world feels after a storm. Weeks passed, and somehow, we learned how to exist again, not as a secret, not as something waiting to fall apart, but as two people who'd stopped running from what was already there. Clara left the university. Not in disgrace, not in drama, just quietly. She said she was tired of living on the edge of fear. I want to write again, she told me one morning as sunlight spilled through the kitchen window. For myself this time. No more lectures. No more pretending I'm fine. She smiled when she said it, but there was something else beneath it, relief, maybe. I got a small photography gig at a local magazine. Not much money, but enough to keep us going. Our days found their rhythm, shared coffee in the morning, long walks in the evening, the kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled. Sometimes she'd stop mid-sentence, look at me, and shake her head with that half-smile I'd learned to love. What? I'd ask. I keep waiting for this to fall apart, she'd say. And it just doesn't. It wasn't perfect. We fought sometimes, about little things, about nothing. I'd leave the dishes too long, she'd overthink everything. But it always ended the same way, one of us giving in, sitting down beside the other, the air softening until the anger melted into quiet laughter. We never said I love you out loud. Maybe we didn't need to. The words were already in the way she reached for my hand when she thought I wasn't looking, in how I'd leave my camera on the table just to catch her humming in the kitchen. One evening, as the sun set behind the buildings, Clara handed me a small envelope. "What's this?" She tucked her hair behind her ear. "A job offer. In Portland. Teaching again, creative writing this time. It's a fresh start." The words hung there. "You're leaving?" She looked at me, eyes steady but soft. "I don't want to. But maybe I need to." I nodded slowly, the ache sharp but honest. "You should go. You earned it." She smiled, a sad, grateful kind of smile. "You could come with me, you know." I laughed under my breath. "And what would I do there?" "Anything you want," she said. For a long moment, we just stood there. The sun caught her hair, turned it gold. I wanted to memorize her exactly like that, not as someone I was losing, but as someone I'd found. When she finally stepped closer, her hand found mine. "Whatever happens," she said, "I want you to remember that none of it was a mistake." I squeezed her hand once. "It never was. We didn't say goodbye that night. We didn't need to. Sometimes love doesn't end, it just changes shape. And maybe that's enough." Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Slow burn love, forbidden romance, or something entirely different?